Hey everybody, Mike Guglielmi from Sons of a Pitch Soccer Podcast, back to bring you episode 133 overall. This is going to be Season 3, Episode 15, coming at you on this wonderful Monday night. Nick, unfortunately, is not here with me. He is in the process of moving right now, so we all know how that goes if you've ever moved from house to house. It's miserable as hell, and he's busy doing that. So, given the fact that there's not a ton of stuff to talk about right now with all this coronavirus break and whatnot, I am flying solo tonight. So, tonight we will be discussing the Bundesliga and the Americans in action, the USMNT players in action for the Bundesliga this past weekend, as well as touch on our live plans for next weekend. Also, we will discuss the MLS and the MLSPA negotiations that are ongoing, with a deadline starting tomorrow afternoon, depending on which time zone you are in. If you're in the Eastern time zone, it's the afternoon. But any other time zone in the United States, it's going to be the morning. So a deadline coming up there. I will talk a little bit more about that as well. Not to mention, we will do a live Q&A. So stay tuned towards the end of this episode, and I will do a live Q&A as we are live here on YouTube. So let us know any questions down in the chat below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and let us know any questions you have, and I will gladly take my time to discuss those, because the amount of soccer content, at least for MLS and USMNT out there, is not much. So help us out, listeners. Help us out, viewers. From there, let's jump right on into the content here. Starting out, I want to talk a little bit about our subscriber challenge. So this is going to be possibly changed because of the amount of time in which we have to get there. But overall, we're running the 1,000 YouTube subscriber challenge. First step, subscribe down below here on YouTube. Once you do that, find us on any of our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, and follow us on there. If we reach 1,000 subscribers by the MLS All-Star Game, which was recently canceled but originally scheduled for July 29th, one social media follower will be randomly drawn and win their choice of either 2 tickets to any MLS regular season game, plus 2 Sons of a Pitch soccer t-shirts, unfortunately no airfare included, or a $250 Visa gift card. Makes it really easy, so make sure you subscribe to Sons of a Pitch Soccer Podcast here on YouTube, and then find us on your favorite social media platform. So with that, let's get right into the action here. We are, as a podcast, as an interesting stat came out just today from a system that sends us emails trying to get us to buy a product, that they're giving us a lot of information without us buying the product, so we probably don't need to do that. That organization is Chartable. Chartable, as far as the podcast goes, so if you're actually downloading our podcast via Google Podcasts, iPad, your iTunes, or whatever podcatcher you use on Android, that will kind of determine these rankings. And we were ranked 194th in the United States of America last week. And then in Mexico, we're ranked 78th. So a little bit of interesting, kind of my analytical mind went to thinking, okay, what about, why are we doing better in Mexico than we are doing in the United States? And I think that might have something to do with the Mexican fans looking at the MLS in an effort to get back to soccer, and to get back to soccer before Liga MX will, because Liga MX canceled their season, their Apertura and Clausura. They canceled the Clausura, so they won't be coming back till minimum August, maybe September, and Mexico kind of was a little bit later in the COVID-19 a case load, so to say. So we're thinking that maybe the Mexican clientele is out there looking at MLS and American soccer, because we might be getting back a little bit sooner. Other than that, I have no explanations, but one thing as a USMNT fan, Mexico can't beat the USA in the rankings for an American soccer podcast. So tell your friends, tell your tell your enemies, anybody, screaming out, from the rooftops, and let everybody know that they need to follow Sons of a Pitch Soccer Podcast, an American soccer podcast, and help us grow and help us beat Mexico in the rankings. So from that, let's talk a little bit about the Bundesliga. To start out, we will be live, or at minimum, I will be live on Saturday, June 6th for the Bayer Leverkusen versus Bayern Munich matchup. So we've got two of the top teams in the table. Should be a pretty good matchup. Leverkusen will be at home against the current leaders in Munich. Not really much of a USMNT flow to this one, but two good teams and a good matchup to watch. That's kind of why we were absent this previous weekend for lives. There really weren't many great matchups in the Bundesliga last week, and Nick was moving. We were celebrating my wife's birthday this Saturday, so I was busy, cleaning and setting up for her party. So next weekend we'll be back. Saturday, June 6th, Bayer Leverkusen against Bayern Munich. I believe it is an 8:30 Central Standard Time start. So watch out for that on the live. Come in, say hi, and we'll be chatting with you. So with that, in the Bundesliga, the American and USMNT performances in this one, a lot of performances out there. Starting out with Werder Bremen and Josh Sargent. So Sargent gets the start and didn't really do much. This was not something where this was not a game where I was really excited to. Thinking he was going to do much, because Werder Bremen has just been struggling like crazy lately. And, they did take on FC Schalke, or Schalke FC, the team where Weston McKennie is playing, the fellow USMNT player. And it really wasn't a good game for either of those gentlemen from a U.S. standpoint. Sargent played 70 minutes. As Werder Bremen did get a victory, which tells you how much of a tire fire Schalke is right now. And I think that was one of the tweets that I saw out there this weekend, was just like, good God, Schalke is in a rough spot, especially being coached by American David Wagner. Kind of hate to see it. Schalke's not looking good, but again, in the long term of things, Schalke is in a much better spot than Werder Bremen. So Werder Bremen in relegation, they're fighting for their lives. Schalke is not. So Josh Sargent, unfortunately, couldn't get anything done. Did he have a good game? I don't know if I'd call it a good game, but his team won. He was a striker for 70 minutes of that matchup, so better for him than Weston McKennie, who almost got sent off in this one. He picked up a yellow card pretty early on in the match, and then he had another crazy tackle, which the referee actually pulled him aside and said, hey, man, I should be sending you off right now, but I'm not, so pull it together for the next little bit, because you will not get away with another tackle that is a foul. So 55 minutes, he gets subbed off for Nassim Boujalab, and that was the end of the day for him. So not much to talk about from that game. A 1-0 victory there for Werder Bremen, and Josh Sargent, who was a striker. Unfortunately, he didn't score. McKennie didn't have a great game either, but that was that. So FC Köln and RB Leipzig, Tyler Adams came on again as a substitute. So, hey, there's Rocky. Rocky, thanks for joining us. Happy birthday. All right. Sounds of thank you very much. I'll make sure my wife knows you said happy birthday. And, yeah, I mean, you say he should have been sent off. He really should have. I couldn't believe that the ref did not send him off. But that's kind of soccer in a nutshell, especially in these games when they're trying to let these guys play out and with no fans in attendance and whatnot. He should have been sent off, but he wasn't. And if he was, if that game was in live, at Werder Bremen, we probably would have had a different setup. But here in the next matchup, Köln against Leipzig, Tyler Adams comes on again as a substitute towards the end of the game to close out the win. Now, Tyler Adams, I think from a U.S. perspective, a lot of us are expecting to see him start and be a big presence in that Leipzig team. Now, Leipzig is fighting for one of the top spots in the Bundesliga. He had a very decent performance in his few minutes, but when you come on already up 4-2, it's tough to really get much judgment out of a performance. The ratings are harder to tell the less time you have on the field, especially as a substitute coming in late when your team is already up and nothing changes from that point. So some stats there for Tyler Adams: 33 minutes total, 29 touches, 94.7% at pass accuracy, 18 out of 19, which is very good. 0 shots, dribbles, or key passes. So really all of that was kind of meaningless play, but what do you expect when you're up 4-2? He was fouled three times, 1 foul drawn, which he caused, and 0 aerial ones, 0 tackles, 2 interceptions, and 1 clearance. So really not a ton of action there for Tyler Adams, but it is what it is. Maybe he'll get back to that starting spot. Hopefully we'll see that from a USMNT perspective, but no guarantee on that, especially with how Leipzig has been playing. So another game here in the Bundesliga: Hertha Berlin 2, Augsburg 0. So former FC Dallas midfielder Carlos Grueza locked 90 minutes for Augsburg, and didn't really seem to do much. But why we're talking about former MLS players, I don't know. Paderborn and Borussia Dortmund. Dortmund with an absolute smackdown of Paderborn, which is fully expected. Dortmund, who unfortunately just missed out on a performance against Bayern Munich and kind of took second place in the league. They're absolutely smashing Paderborn 6-1. Giovanni Reina, who he's looking for that first start. He almost had that first start in that first game back from the coronavirus break when Schalke was at Borussia Dortmund, a game we did live here with Sons of a Pitch. And he was in the lineup, ready to go as the start, and got hurt in warm-ups. He has not gotten his first start yet. However, he did come on as a substitute appearance for the last, I believe it was 10 minutes or so, and really didn't fare much in this one. So there's the most of the action there for the USMNT players. However, a quick note on Bayern Munich 2, Chris Richards, the FC Dallas product, did get a game-winning goal for the Bayern reserves, or Bayern Munich 2, in the 89th minute there. So pretty good to see him doing something. Maybe he'll get pulled up to Bayern Munich's main team in the first squad, kind of on a bench position. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he gets inserted into the starting lineup like Alfonso Davies, which we'll touch on next. Alfonso Davies in Bayern Munich. Alfonso Davies put a goal away, a great goal for his team in an absolute thrashing of 5-0. Alfonso Davies, a great goal. What is going on with Alfonso Davies? I want to have a little bit of a conversation about Alfonso Davies. 5-0 Bayern over Fortuna Dusseldorf, which is Zach Steffen's club. However, Zach Steffen, not there, not in the lineup because of the injury problems. What do we make of Alfonso Davies? This kid is he's like the talk of the Bundesliga. People are saying he's the best left back in the world. Well, obviously right now, when there's nobody playing, he is the best left back in the world because there's not many leagues playing right now. But this Davies is playing extremely well. And when he made the transfer over from Vancouver, it was expected that he was going to be maybe a bench player, probably get loaned out. He's young. He's 19 years old. And he's come into the Bundesliga and he's set it on fire. All of these players are talking extremely highly about him. Excuse me. Thomas Muller talking about how he's the road runner. You look at the main picture from Google, and there's a picture of Robert Lewandowski, high-fiving Davies after his goal. Who would have thought that this guy would be in the position that he's in at 19 years old, about a year and a half, maybe 2 years after his MLS transfer from the Vancouver Whitecaps in Canada and MLS to playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world. It's just crazy to see how that has happened. Now, what are the causes of that? Is that just pure talent being opened up? It's kind of like, I think it could just be the pure talent aspect of it, but there's more to it. There's more of the work ethic, the drive. Maybe part of that comes from his story where being a Ghanaian refugee and getting accepted into Canada. He as a refugee, he really wanted to help that country out. As Rocky chimes in here with the comment, we might have to annex Canada to pick them up. Hey, you know what? Might have to do it. There's been talk of that for a long time. Being a Canadian, I've heard a lot of that talk for a long time. So maybe we might have to do that because he is that damn good of a player, and he's got that drive and that athletic, just the unbelievable athletic skills that this guy has, plus the fact that he's got that drive and the amazing amount of drive that he has. You can see it when he runs back, when there's a tackle. Hey, children, go, shut the door, be quiet. I am live on YouTube right now, and you people laughing and having a good time, go to bed. Sorry for those of you that are watching live, kids being jerks. What's new there? But anyways, back to Alfonso Davies. The guy has got crazy drive, and he's really going after every single play. He tracks back from the offensive side back to the defensive side within seconds. It's like he was way up the field, and now he's back making a great defensive tackle in the box before you know what's hitting you. So great news from Alfonso Davies and for the Canadian men's national team. We'll see if he pans out over time. Maybe this is just kind of a one-hit wonder. We'll see. I think he has more talent than that and will pan out for a much longer time than kind of that one-hit wonder. But that's just me as a Canadian men's national team fan as well as USMNT fan. But I'm kind of with you, Rocky. Maybe we need to annex Canada and take it over. Bring the army in, take over Canada, and bring in Davies and Jonathan David and a couple other men's national team players as well. So, anyways, next thing I want to touch about is these MLS simulations. Yes, it's that bad. There is like nothing to talk about whatsoever with news as far as MLS, because all the headlines nationally and the protests going on and all that kind of stuff. There's really not a lot going on other than the MLS and MLSPA negotiations. So I kind of want to hold that back for after the sponsor break. So I want to talk a little bit about the FIFA 20 Week 14 simulations. Now, in these simulations, Atlanta United beats Toronto FC 2-1. Columbus Crew over the Vancouver Whitecaps 3-2. Chicago Fire lose to the Portland Timbers 1-0. LA Galaxy 2, DC United 0. Sounders wipe out the Impact 3-0. San Jose Earthquakes lose to Atlanta in Atlanta's second victory of the week 3-1. Orlando and Portland tie 1-1. Union lose to the Crew. Fire tie the Revolution. DC United lose to the Whitecaps. FC Dallas wipes out Sporting Kansas City. LAFC and Houston Dynamo 0-0 draw. And you know what? As I keep going down this list, I sit there and think to myself that all of these games could have actually happened this week. So you're talking 3, 4, 5... 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 games, if I counted correctly very fast. 16 games of MLS soccer would have been played in this past week. However, here we are talking about absolutely nothing and FIFA simulations. So it's time to get back to soccer. It's getting extremely, extremely close to that point, seeing on how most states are reopening, as some states are not not quite there yet. They're opening up slower than others, but it's getting to the point where things are starting to open up, and apparently, in some of the MLS negotiations with the players, it seems to be closer than we think and agreed upon more than has been let out. So I will discuss that a little bit further in the next session here. I'm going to take a quick halftime break here, sponsorship break, which since I'm alone, it will be much quicker than normal. And then we will jump into the discussion there, as well as some question and answers. So Rocky, looks like you're the only one on with us right now. If you've got any questions, things you want us to discuss or me to discuss, let me know in the chat below, and we'll get there. So be right back with the sponsorship break, and we will start talking some of the discussions as far as MLS and MLSPA negotiations. The listeners, thank you to our listeners, viewers on YouTube. It really is everything we have. We could not do this without you guys. If it wasn't for you guys, our wives would not let us do this. So thanks again. Now let's talk a little bit about these negotiations here. So MLS and MLSPA are trying to get some type of agreement here, type of a redone CBA that was agreed upon before the season had started. However, since the season started, it was not ratified. Now that it was not ratified, it was not put in stone, and that's trouble, because right when the COVID-19 break started was when it was supposedly going to get ratified. It did not get ratified, so there was no agreement put in place. So the MLS owners and the MLSPA are kind of battling between different points of view as far as what they want for the resumption of play and going forward. So Rocky chimes in here. It sounds like the players want the same money as regular contract year, and owners want to cut salaries because there's no fan revenue at closed stadiums. So it's pretty close to that, Rocky. From what I have heard, there's a little bit more to the story than that. So what I was seeing today was that the negotiations have kind of staled out at this moment. There is a deadline for tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard Time. So the league has kind of put a deadline there for the players to agree. And honestly, it's kind of I get where they're coming from a standpoint of having to plan this Orlando tournament, because this is part of it. But it's kind of a shitty situation to put these guys in. Based off of kind of what's going on with the COVID-19 break and whatnot. So there was a statement from the MLS Players Association that I will read in full that came out yesterday evening. And nothing really has changed much other than one sticking point that we'll talk about here in just a minute. But this evening, MLS players voted to approve a package of economic concessions for the 2020 season. Modifications to the recently agreed upon CBA, including its extension by a year and their agreement to participate in a summer tournament in Orlando. Included were salary reductions across the entire player pool, reduced team and individual bonuses, and additional concessions to existing and future terms of the CBA. While a difficult vote in incredibly challenging times, it was taken collectively to ensure that players can return to competition as soon as they are safely able to do so. The package has been formally submitted to the league for a decision by the owners. So it was a great statement there by the Players Association, basically saying, hey, listen, we've made a lot of concessions here. We are willing to take a reduction in salary. And to touch on your point, Rocky, it was overall it was a reduction from, I believe it was 7.5% to 8.25% to 7.5%. So the league had had proposed the 8.25% salary reduction. The players came in at 7.5% and offered that, which at least they're offering a salary reduction. They do understand that there is this issue out there. The stadiums will be closed. The ticket revenue won't be there. Yes, the TV deal will be there, and the advertising revenues will mostly be there, but that ticket revenue will be down. So they're willing to take a cut, but not willing to take a huge cut, and it was close. I mean, we're talking about 1.25%. That is something where I kind of look at that from an accounting standpoint and say, what the hell are you guys really complaining about? Meet in the middle. Call it 7.67, call it 7.8, whatever. Meet in the middle and be done with this, as far as that point goes. So the players really, with that statement, have let the league and the public know that they're conceding on a lot of different things. Especially they're willing to play in this Orlando tournament, which there was some talk from some of the players, most notably Alejandro Bedoya, that he thought it was inhumane to put people in a Orlando resort without their families or with their families or whatever. Honestly, I think it's a bunch of, whatever. But that's just me. So there's been some talking out from the MLS players. But overall, they've conceded that they will play this Orlando tournament. So now, with this, the league is is playing hardball with this deadline and everything that's going on with what the players have conceded with. Now, I understand that the league is a growing league. It's not raking in much money at all, even when everything is going normal, let alone when things are shut down due to coronavirus and whatnot. The players have stepped up to the plate. They have conceded. The league is not doing that, and that's what I'm seeing from this with the offer from the MLSPA. I'm kind of taking the side of the players, and I feel like I'm not seeing everything because I'm just really I haven't seen a statement from the league on this, but I have seen a statement from the MLSPA. But you also have to remember, as Rocky points out, these players are all taking the contact risk of playing, so they could catch COVID-19. Now, personally, from my view, and I've been very vocal about this on our podcast episodes since the beginning, that I don't think it's much of a concern for a young man who is athletically in fit shape to be playing 90 minutes of soccer to get coronavirus and really have some serious complications from that. Now, he could pass that on to loved ones who are older, etc., etc. But if in that Orlando situation where you're saying they're in a hotel in a so-and-so quarantine, that worry isn't quite there. So, overall, I see that the players are trying to get back. They want to get back. MLS is kind of sticking it to them, saying, and it's probably based off of their business plans and everything they're putting together, saying, hey, we are kind of at this break-even point of an 8.25% reduction, and that's what we need to see in order to break even and not take much of a loss. And honestly, in times like this, you're asking the players to take a loss. You need to take a loss as well and meet in the middle. And I think that's something which maybe we'll touch upon later for the when we talk about the George Floyd protests, or I will be talking about the George Floyd protests and whatnot. The political climate in this country, there's not many people that are meeting in the middle. So that's maybe, the MLS and the MLSPA could maybe do a little bit of that and meet in the middle. The players are obviously taking a hit, and maybe the league needs to take a little bit of a hit as well. So overall, though, looking at some of the information here, is a lot of teams had their plans submitted and approved to go into small group training. So these guys they've moved from the individual workouts into the small group training workouts. And those were supposed to start today, Monday, June 1st. Now, a lot of the players, maybe even all of them, took a complete stand down and boycotted training because of these negotiations that are going on. Now, the players probably shouldn't do that. They probably should get back and run into this and let's play some soccer. Let's get that process moving. Remember back on March 12th when we canceled this for 30 days? We figured it was going to be a 30-day break. Well, we're way past 30 days. We're almost at 90 days now. And fans like myself, like you, and other fans are without soccer. Now, we're even considering, hey, we'll take soccer even not live. And a lot of us go to games. I only go to a couple games a year, and that's because I am a dad of four young kids, right? And in the suburbs of Chicago, it's not something that I just get to go to games left and right. It's not like I lived in Bridgeview and could go every weekend. So I get that. But we're willing to take soccer only on TV, behind closed doors. The players, we're taking concessions. The players need to take concessions, and so does the league. So the players, by boycotting here the first day of group training, is a little bit hard to see, but I do get why they're doing that, especially with the deadline of tomorrow at noon. Now, if that deadline shows up tomorrow at noon Eastern, and the players haven't, their submitted proposal does not get approved by the league, does the league lock the players out? We can't have that. I'm just going to put it out there, we can't have that. That's not an option. MLS, please, if you're listening to this, that can't happen. This league is a growing league. You want MLS to be one of the top leagues in the world, in the soccer, football world, in 5, 10, 15 years. Good luck. If you lock your players out after COVID-19 and this breakdown and everything, and politically everything that's going on in this country with the George Floyd protests and everything that's going on in this world, if you lock your players out, well, maybe it's a good time because of all that, because you're not going to make the news. But the bottom line is MLS can't afford it. The fans that are there, they've got their diehard fans, but they have a lot of middle ground fans. And those middle ground fans will not accept something like this. Me, as a diehard, I'm there. I'm not going away, period. Rocky, I'm pretty sure you're not going anywhere. People, our listeners, our viewers, probably aren't going anywhere. But the middle ground fans that maybe go to 1, 2, 3 games a year, they're kind of introducing their kids to it. They might turn it on the TV on a Saturday night, occasionally every few weeks. Those guys, they're the ones that you're risking, because if you turn those guys, if they catch news of the league breaking down and locking out their players, good luck. Not a good look for the league. So hopefully, if MLS is paying attention, they will hear this perspective and decide that maybe they can't do this right now. They need to work with these negotiations. From what I'm seeing, the MLSPA is not looking for an arm and a leg here. They're looking for a literally less than 1% of pay reduction less. So that's kind of my standpoint on that. Rocky chimes in. Rose City till I die. Absolutely. You're one of the diehards, right? I'm one of the diehards. I'm Toronto till I die. Nick is a diehard fan. I can speak for him on that. He might not have a team, but he is a diehard United States soccer fan. So either way, we're not going anywhere. It's the middle ground fans that we have to worry about. Those are the guys and gals that they might see this and go, remember what happened to baseball back in 1994, 1995, after that strike that cut short the 1994 season? Baseball was hurting for a few seasons. I remember it pretty vividly because, right here, Blue Jays fan, they were reigning champions back in 93, and 94 almost set up an all-Canada championship or World Series between the Blue Jays and the Expos, who were both right there for the taking. We've got another comment here. Zachary Wilson, hey, Zach, how's it going? Honestly, the majority of those people would not even know the difference, LOL. you might be onto something because they honestly, with the news cycle and everything that's going on right now, nobody's paying attention to MLS, at least here in the United States. Maybe around the world, maybe the soccer fans from around the world might be paying attention, but you might be onto something just with everything that's going on with the protests and whatnot. So thanks for jumping on, Zach. Appreciate it. What are your guys' thoughts? What side are you on? I want to hear from you guys that are here on the chat. And if you're watching this on replay, let us know in the comments. Which side are you on, MLS or MLSPA? Let us know there. Also, Zach Wilson just chimes in. Also, with the economic situation from COVID, those people might not even go away. Yeah, another good point there. So Zach comes in bringing the heat and the knowledge on this episode. So Zach, now that you've joined us, you jumped in a little bit late, so I'm by myself tonight. Nick is moving. He is in the process of moving boxes around and getting everything unloaded with his young children in his new house. So I am here solo with you guys, talking some soccer, and there's really not a ton of it to talk about. A little bit of Bundesliga action we discussed before, and MLS and MLSPA negotiations. So overall, question and answers. If there's any questions that you guys have, let me know down below in the chat. Anything you want to hear about, I'm willing to discuss it. From that, I want to kind of put out a little bit of something that I noticed today from these protests with George Floyd. So, all right, we've got Rocky says former athlete, always on the side of the players, and Zach Wilson solo dolo. Yeah, I'm solo tonight. And Rocky, yeah, you gotta be on the side of the players with this one. They've put their demands out there to the public, and they're willing to do this tournament in Orlando, which is kind of a pain in the ass from a player's perspective. I get it. Also, they're willing to take a pay reduction. There was talk that they weren't willing to take a pay reduction. I know MLB players in baseball, they're not willing. A lot of them are not willing to take a pay reduction. They want a prorated, depending on how many games they play and whatnot. There's a lot of different stuff out there, but it seems like the players are kind of on top of their business, and hopefully we'll see a resolution by tomorrow morning. Well, at least by tomorrow at noon, we'll see some type of resolution to this whole deal. So also we've got Daniel Young chiming in. I love the team, but due to financial difficulties, I usually buy partial season ticket plan at Yankee Stadium. Hey Daniel, thanks for joining the podcast here tonight. I'm solo, unfortunately, without my partner Nick, but thanks for joining on. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Financial difficulties, man, I'm with you. I mean, New York was hit the hardest, right? Now, luckily for me, I'm doing good. My job, I work for a utility company here in Illinois. My business isn't going anywhere, and I'm in a good spot. However, a lot of Americans, a lot of people out there that go to these games are not in a great situation like that have lost their incomes due to this COVID-19 break, especially the areas that got hit hard like New York City. So definitely feel for you. Appreciate you jumping on, Daniel. Good luck to you, and hopefully we can that your situation gets worked out well. As Zach chimes in, hey, can't play the game without the players. You can't. Simple as that. The team will be there. There was some movie, wasn't it like The Water Boy or The Replacements, or there was some movie about football players where when the players went on strike, they brought in these other guys, and it was a great Hollywood moment, right? Can MLS afford to bring in replacement players from USL or just guys that are, grown men, kind of like myself playing an adult soccer league? Hell no, won't work. So you gotta have the players to play the game, and that's something from at least from a fan standpoint. We want to see the players back out there. Rocky, I need to go to the store before lockdown. Have a great night, Mike. Hey, thank you, Rocky. Good luck. Get to that store. Good luck to you out in Portland. I hear it's crazy out there just like it is here in Chicago. So good luck. Stay safe. Appreciate you jumping on, Rocky. We will talk to you very, very soon, hopefully this weekend as well, when we do the live for the Bundesliga matchup. So really to kind of finish up on this point, MLSPA kind of has the lead in this situation. Hopefully they get something done by tomorrow at noon, whatever that deadline is. Maybe they extend it. Maybe they get close. Maybe they get something done. But I'm ready to see soccer. I'm ready to watch MLS teams play soon. I want to see it soon. I'm a diehard. I'm ready to watch these games, and I'm sure all of you guys are as well. Zachary says The Replacements, haha, classic. Yep, that was a good movie. Now, so before we end the show, I want to touch a little bit about the George Floyd protests, rioting, looting, all that stuff that's going on. So no one here is disputing the facts of what happened. I think everybody who is watching this, myself, Nick, we're not disputing what happened. Straight up from the videos that we've seen, it's murder, right? It was an injustice. Now, as far as the rioting, the looting, all that kind of stuff, I'm not in a place to talk about that because I'm not part of it. However, a good moment, a humanity moment, was this morning. I took out my kids and we went driving through Aurora, Illinois. So I'm pretty close to Aurora, and we went down. Apparently they moved out here to the burbs, trying to hit the Chicago Premium Outlets Mall. And I took the kids out this morning to kind of see what was going on. And man, did we ever see some great moments of humanity. As Zach says, he was on a podcast for that yesterday. Amazing acts of kindness and just the best of humanity is what I saw and my kids saw. Zach, link it up, man. Put the link out there, and actually, you probably, since we're almost wrapped up, just put it in the comments once this uploads to the actual video itself, rather than the live chat, because we're almost done. But amazing acts of humanity. I mean, we saw when we were driving through there was not much damage left, and the media had made more of it than it actually was. There was a few broken windows, a few, obviously we saw a dollar store that was burnt to the ground, and that was really the max of it. I mean, there was not as much as the media was making out to be, and these acts of humanity that we saw were fantastic. I mean, there was white families, black families, Hispanic families, all out there with brooms and dustpans and there to clean up. And we saw Dunkin' Donuts and Chick-fil-A were on the scene bringing food, and even civilians, right? I mean, I saw a guy who's just a normal civilian like myself, was out there with coffee and donuts to bring out to these people who are cleaning up, helping these businesses board up. It was absolutely amazing. I mean, you saw moms with 2 or 3 kids, and they were there with their kids sweeping up the mess, and it was absolutely fantastic to see the communities pulled together. And in this time of uncertainty, and everybody's concerned about the racial tensions and all that kind of stuff, and it's just beautiful to see everybody coming together to say, hey, this is not what we're about. This is what we're going to do. We are going to clean up. This is our city. We believe in this. We are together. I'm here to help you, fellow American, right? And it was fantastic. So overall, we've got, so let's see. Zach says, can I link it? Absolutely. We talked about that. He said, deal. Daniel Young, how will this COVID-19 pandemic impact European or South America soccer team preseason tours of the United States or Canada? That's a great question. I'll actually come to that in just a second. Also, Daniel, I don't think we'll have those, at least for a very long time, and that's kind of my standpoint there. So taking it to the Q&A to wrap up the George Floyd, protests. The bottom line is there's an amazing amount of humanity out there, and God bless each and every one of you all over the country that are out there fighting for your cause, that are out there cleaning up, helping each other out, and just being the best of people that we can see. Because sometimes when you sit back, it's hard to see the best in humanity. It's hard to see people doing the right thing. But when you witness some of this stuff, it's awesome to see everybody coming together the way they were. So with that, as far as Daniel's question, how will COVID-19 pandemic impact European or South American soccer team preseason tours of the U.S. or Canada? So every year we've seen these different type of tournaments, right? You've got the International Champions Cup. You have teams coming to play friendlies in the United States and Canada. All of these matchups, you've got all of the best teams that are either going to China or the United States. And for the most part, they end up here in the U.S. Real Madrid, Barcelona, Man United, all that. Obviously, with this year, the fact that those teams had their season shortened and canceled, you're not going to see them coming over for the summer tournaments, especially based off of where we are. We haven't even resumed sports yet here in the United States. I think the MLB, NHL, NBA, MLS, all of them are kind of taking that real proactive approach and kind of not even proactive, but like kind of like sitting back and really holding back because the most of the cases were here in the United States. So overall, worldwide, when you look at these cases of COVID-19, the large majority of those cases were here in the United States of America. So I think they're kind of sitting back and taking a little bit of that backseat approach. However, personally, from my standpoint, I think we should all move on, get moving, build our immunities up. That's me. But there's plenty of other different standpoints around, and that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But overall, these tournaments, they will not be here this year. Hopefully, we can get back to that next year because there is a big draw for that. You have a lot of European soccer fans who are into... they're Man United fans. They are Inter Milan fans. They're AC Milan fans. They're Barcelona fans. They're Real Madrid fans. So, if players are there playing that matchup, these people who are over here that want to go to that game, they get excited about that. They show up at these stadiums, and the biggest marketing ploy you can have from that is they look and they see the billboard, New York City FC. They see the billboard, Montreal Impact, Toronto FC, Inter Miami, Atlanta United, whatever, and they say, oh, you know what, I might come back and check out one of those games, and then they do. And now you have a new MLS American soccer fan. They start paying attention to that, and they really help build the sport of soccer here in the United States. Daniel Young chimes in, I know here in New York City, Barcelona or Liverpool preseason games at the Yankee stadiums were very expensive. The cost was more than $200 US. Right, so that's because the drive, the supply and demand was there, right? The demand was higher than the supply of tickets, so the price tag went up. You hit StubHub, which is kind of like the only way to get tickets now because everything seems to sell out on Ticketmaster within minutes. And unless you're here in the Chicago area looking for a Fire game, no pun intended. So it kind of drives that marketing sense up, and you get the true soccer fans out there looking for these games, and then they're there, and they start to pick up on MLS. They start to pick up on this is the stadium where a Major League Soccer, a U.S. soccer team plays. Maybe I should join here. Maybe I should get season tickets. Maybe I should start paying attention. Maybe I should catch a match next week, when they're playing an MLS side. So overall, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see those for a while. I think we'll end up seeing those maybe next summer. I think there's a good push for a vaccine, and it'll be very interesting to see how these protests and how everything like that plays out. Will we see a second wave from these protests? Because that's a really good testing point, right? You've got mass gatherings in close quarters. If you don't see a rise from of cases and deaths within the next 2 to 3 weeks, then obviously it's playing out like a normal virus would, where it comes in, it hits the curve, it starts downgrading, and moves out. I think it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. But overall, I expect to see games like that maybe back here in the United States next season, because I think we're going to get back to normal. A vaccine seems to be on the way, and I'm personally expecting it. So hopefully that's how it goes out. We've reached about 50-something minutes here, so appreciate you guys jumping on with us with myself. I'm so used to saying us. With Nick here with me, unfortunately, he couldn't be with us tonight because he's moving. And I understand the pains of moving. I've done it a couple times myself. So Nick, hope the move goes well, and we will be back this weekend with a live for the Bayer Leverkusen against Bayern Munich game. I will be doing a live commentary, live stream reaction here. I'll watch the game and give my thoughts, and hopefully Nick will be here with me. Other than that, make sure you follow our podcast. We've been sticking with this. Consistency is the key. We bring an episode every single Monday, Tuesday, every single week, because that is something that's very important in the MLS landscape. A lot of podcasts will go and put an episode out, and then 3 weeks later they might do another episode, and then the next 2 days later they're putting another one out, but then they'll go a month without another one. We do it every single week. We are your source for American soccer, and we also have some marketing opportunities as well, sponsorship opportunities. We have a great sponsorship in place with Sons of a Pitch, with Sons of a Pitch in Donovan Food Brokerage and Nice Premium Iceland Pure Spring Water. If you want to get in on that, then make sure to send us an email at podcast@sonsofapitchsoccer.com. We will discuss sponsorship opportunities. We are looking for a sponsorship here for the YouTube channel with your marketing, with your logo up here at wherever on the screen for that. So let us know. Daniel Young chimes in. My favorite NYC game is August 22nd, 2018. NYCFC won. New York Red Bulls won the Derby. NYCFC were down to 9 men. He was there in section 208. Down to 9 men and pulling out a result is a great result. Must have been an awesome game to be at there, Daniel. So I was at MLS Cup 2016, which was a horrible moment for Toronto FC, my diehard Toronto FC. But I was there for NYC. You being an NYCFC fan, I was there for the first leg of the 2016 conference semifinals of Toronto when they beat New York City FC 2-0 there in Toronto. Josie Altidore and then Tosaint Ricketts with the goal to seal it. And then, of course, we went to Yankee Stadium and beat you guys 5-0. But I'm just going to leave it alone right there. Anyways, that was that. Thanks for joining us. Make sure to check that out on here. Subscribe on YouTube. Find us however you want on social media, Twitter at SOP Soccer, Facebook at Sons of a Pitch Soccer, or subscribe to our podcast wherever you find podcasts. Also, we have our swag, our merch, whatever you want to call it, Redbubble. Get it now, sonsofapitch.redbubble.com. Not only is it an awesome helping of American soccer and the voice of American soccer here with Sons of a Pitch, you also get a pretty kick-ass shirt or whatever where it says Sons of a Pitch, hashtag, Sons of a Bitch, whatever. You get a laugh out of everybody that sees it. I do it all the time, wearing all my gear, as you can see. So make sure to pick up some of that swag. It helps us grow the conversation of American soccer. So thank you guys for joining us. And, Daniel says, "Oh no." So hey, don't let me stop you from hanging out and learning more about American soccer and watching with us here at Sons of a Pitch, because I'm a TFC fan when I was there live. But appreciate you jumping on, Daniel, and we will talk to you guys very, very soon. Next Saturday for sure, maybe a little bit before then, and definitely next Monday or next Tuesday when we record our next episode. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.